Hear that sound? Kind of whining a little bit. Nobody likes whining. Something on my serpentine belt is making that noise. Now it could be the idler pulley, it could be the air conditioning compressor, it could be the alternator, it could be the power steering. Well, I have a way to find out. So we're gonna ID where it is with the stethoscope. This is a mechanic stethoscope, and you put it on, and then you take the rod and you touch it to different parts to see if you can ID where the sound is coming from. Careful when you do this, because if it gets into the belt, they would hurt quite a bit when it comes off your ears. I think I found it. Yep, it's the loudest right there. It's the very quiet there and consistent, but when I touch the alternator, it's pretty loud. Well, how could this happen? It's pretty simple. You go off-road, you get mud. Alternators don't do very well with mud and dirt inside of them. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna change out that alternator. It's a pretty easy process, but let's take a look. Step number 1, disconnect your battery. Step number 2, take a picture of your serpentine belt so that you know how to put it back on if it comes completely off. There's a picture right there. Now, let's get that tensioner pulley off. To do that, you're gonna need just a 3/8 breaker bar. And there is a place where you're gonna stick that onto the tensioner, and this is gonna allow me to loosen it up. Once you've got your breaker bar on the pulley, you can use it, and you see how it just takes the tension right off? Just like that. And now that's how you get your pulley off with that tensioner. It's just it's a 3/8 drive, so you're just gonna do like this. Now we got to get the old alternator out. So you got 2 studs in the front that you got to get out, and a stud up top, plus you got to disconnect it. So I'm gonna start with disconnecting it. Pull the tabs out of the way, pinch the tabs, and that'll expose your nut that's on top. Pull your little wonderful red tab off the back. Here's a little trick with red tabs. Spray a little penetrating oil in there, because that way the tab will come off. Take the wire off the alternator, using a 1/2 inch. So you won't have that wire up on top like that. The front bolts on the lower part of the alternator, 16 millimeters. Stubborn. If you wrench on a regular basis, I do recommend Milwaukee tools. There's a link below. These have made jobs so much faster. You just put it on there, and out it comes.
Same side that had the pipe through.
Yeah. Use your pry bar, and out it comes. Now, if you're going down to your local auto parts place, there's going to be a core charge. So you want to go ahead and take out your alternator and just take it with you down to the auto parts place. They can look at the part number on here. This is a Denso. I looked it up by that 42 1000 0541, and that's just your standard alternator. Pretty. On the new one, these are the 2 bolts that I took out. There's one that goes all the way through. It's a little bit shorter. That goes toward the center of the motor. That's the shorter one. And then there's the longer one, which is a little tighter, goes all the way through to the back. So this alternator is going to be going in just about how you see it, with the wires up there at about 2 o'clock. Put both of them in by hand so that you know that they're all threaded. Before you tighten down the other side, make sure you get the other bolt in so that you can know that you got them threaded properly. Nothing more aggravating than putting a bolt in and then having to go back and take it all out because you couldn't get it lined up. So the specs call for 40 foot-pounds on these. I know it calls for 40, but I feel like 40 may be pushing it with that pot metal, so I'm snugging it down to the German method, Guten tight. Do not hook up your positive until you get the belt on. Not sure why, but it could have something to do with a charge maybe coming back, I don't know. Get your belt lined up. Over the top of your compressor, over the top of the alternator. Got my belt pretty much all lined up. Last thing I do is got to get it across the pulley. So I'm going to loosen up my tensioner again. That'll allow me to slide the belt easily over it. And then everything is back where it's supposed to be. Let's hook the juice back up. Comes with new nut for the top of that. Push your tab back in there. Once you've connected it, push your red clip back on. That should be connected that way. Then we got to tighten this down. This top bolt where your positive wire goes is 110 inch-pounds. That's going to be hard to do without letting the wire move, because if you let the wire move, it's going to crack the plastic. So I got to stop that wire from moving so I can put a little bit of pressure on there. Important note, if you allow this wire to move, the little extension on there is going to break your plastic. So make sure that you secure it. I just secured it by lightly putting a screwdriver here to hold it still while I tighten that up. And now it's test time. And just like that, it's in. It's an easy job. It should take you about 45 minutes. If you take your time, you're gonna have to have a few tools. Should require a couple metric sockets, like a 13 and a 16. You're gonna need a 3/8 drive breaker bar or something to go ahead and move that tensioner pulley around. Make sure you disconnect your battery. When you're done, you should be good to go. It's a pretty easy task. Thanks for watching. I'm Matt, and this has been a how-to video on changing out your alternator on a 3.8 liter JK. We'll see you on the next trail.